Welcome to Voice of Torah, where Abraham and Sarah bring the timeless teachings of the Torah to life, one Parsha at a time. Join us as we explore the wisdom of Noach, uncovering the insights, stories, and values that continue to shape our world. Tune in and let the voice of Torah resonate in your life.
Shalom and welcome to Voice of Torah. I'm Abraham, and with me today is Sarah.
Shalom, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you all as we delve into this week's Parsha, Noach.
You know how much we love to take these deep dives into, well, pretty much anything we can get our hands on.
Pretty much.
But there's just something about the classic stories that, well, they keep calling us back.
Yeah.
And today, we're going all the way back to the time of Noah. Going deeper, we're looking at Parshat Noach through, well, a whole bunch of lenses.
Like a kaleidoscope almost?
Exactly. Beit Yisrael International, they have these amazing Gaddi Efrayim notes, and they bring in Torah, Chassidut thought, even some Kabbalah.
Oh.
I know, right? So get ready, because we're about to uncover the hidden symbolism, the psychology, everything that makes this story so incredibly relevant even today.
It's going to be good.
So Noah, I mean, we all know him, right? The righteous dude in a world gone totally bad. The guy who built the ark, saved the animals, the whole deal.
The guy who basically hit the reset button on humanity, right?
Okay, so that's what I wanted to ask you about. Because, yeah, we always hear about Noah being Tzaddik, this righteous dude. But how does that tie into this whole flood situation? I mean, was it just punishment? Or is there something more to it?
Okay, so this is where things get super interesting. Because, yeah, on the surface, the flood wipes out, well, pretty much everyone. But if you look at it through the lens of, say, Kabbalah, it becomes less about punishment and more about, like you said, a reset.
Like a cosmic reboot.
Exactly. And Noah, through his righteousness, well, he's like the seed of this new beginning. He embodies the potential for humanity to realign with the divine.
Okay, whoa, that's heavy stuff. And you know what else blows my mind? The word Noah in Hebrew, it means rest, right? And it's connected to the word chen, which means grace. How cool is that?
There's so much packed into the language itself, right? And that connection between rest and grace, it's like a key to understanding Noah's whole journey.
So are you saying that because Noah was, well, favored by God, that's how he found this inner peace, this rest?
Yeah. It's definitely a powerful interpretation. That divine favor, that chen, leads to spiritual rest, that Noah. And Noah, well, he embodied both.
I like that.
And it's such an important lesson for us today. I mean, our world, it's crazy, it's demanding, it's a lot.
It's a lot, yeah. So are you saying we should all be building arks? Like literal arks?
Well, maybe not literal ones, but the ark itself, it's a powerful symbol.
Okay, I'm listening.
Think of it as a representation of Torah and prayer. Those are our arks, the things that give us refuge in a world that feels, well, sometimes it feels like it's about to flood.
Wait, hold up. So you're saying that Torah and prayer, they're like our spiritual life rafts?
In a way, yeah. They offer guidance, they offer protection, they offer a way to connect with something bigger than ourselves.
And the thing is, it's not just some abstract idea. I mean, the Hebrew word for ark, teva, it also means word, right?
Exactly. So when we immerse ourselves in Torah study, in prayer, we're literally entering into the words, finding refuge within them.
It's like, if you think about it, it's like finding shelter in a library during a hurricane.
Yes. Surrounded by knowledge, by wisdom, by something that can withstand any storm.
Wow, okay, that image it's powerful. But it's not just about surviving the storm, right? I mean, we also got to talk about what happens after. And what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think about the flood ending?
Rainbows.
Exactly. I mean, come on. Everyone loves a good rainbow.
Who doesn't?
But there's got to be more to it than just, pretty colors in the sky, right?
Oh, there's so much more. Because that rainbow, it's not just a promise that God won't flood the world again. It's a symbol of divine grace.
Grace. Like how so?
Think about it. Each color in the rainbow represents a different divine attribute, and they're all working together in harmony.
It's like the universe is back in balance, right? After all that chaos.
Exactly. And Noah, through his actions, his righteousness, he helped make that happen. He restored that balance, which allows grace to flow back into the world.
Okay, but if grace is available to everyone now, why is it still so messed up?
That's the question, isn't it? And that brings us to, a different kind of challenge. The story of the Tower of Babel.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I mean, most people just think it's about how we ended up with different languages, but it goes way deeper than that, right?
Yeah, much deeper. Because in Kabbalah, Babel represents humanity's attempt at unity, but before we were actually ready for it.
So, like, we were rushing into things.
Kind of, yeah. It's like we were trying to build this tower to heaven, but without a solid foundation.
So all the different languages, that was like a necessary step back.
Exactly. It forced us to diversify, to develop different cultures, different perspectives. And in a way, that's what's going to lead us to true unity in the future.
You mean like in the Messianic era?
Exactly. It's like we needed to spread out, experience all these different things before we could truly come together as one.
Wow. Okay, so Babel wasn't a punishment. It was more like a redirection.
Yeah, I like that, a redirection. It's all part of a big plan.
This is blowing my mind. Okay, so bringing it back to Noah. If we had to sum up his legacy, like what's the one thing we should all take away from his story?
Well, I think it's the power of transformation. Noah, he shows us that even in the darkest of times, even when surrounded by negativity, we can still choose righteousness. We can choose to be a source of light.
It's like that Hasidic idea of focusing on your own actions, right?
Yeah.
Not getting caught up in what everyone else is doing.
Exactly. Noah didn't try to fix everyone else. He focused on his own path, his own connection with the divine. And that's what made him a beacon of hope, a seed for a new beginning.
I have to say, I don't think I'll ever look at Noah's Ark the same way again. What started as, well, a pretty simple flood story has become this incredible exploration of, well, everything.
It's amazing what you find when you start digging deeper, right?
It really is. And for everyone listening, here's a thought to take with you. If the Ark represents finding refuge in Torah and prayer, what's your Ark look like? What floods are you facing? And how can you build your own spiritual resilience?
The Zohar tells us that Noah found Shen in the eyes of God.
Okay.
So through his righteousness, he became a vessel for this grace.
So it wasn't just about following the rules. It was about aligning himself with this divine energy.
Precisely. And to really unpack Chen,
Yeah.
we need to turn to some of the great thinkers in Jewish history.
Okay.
They'll help us go even deeper into this idea and how it relates to Noah.
Okay, let's hear about these thinkers.
We're going to explore the ideas of the Sfat Emet,
Okay.
a great Hasidic master, the Maharal of Prague,
Okay.
a renowned rabbi and philosopher,
Okay.
and the Arizal,
Okay.
a towering figure in Kabbalah.
Right.
Each of them brings unique insights into what Chen really is and how it manifested in Noah's life.
All right, I'm ready. All right. Let's start with the Sfat Emet.
Okay.
What did he have to say about all of this?
The Sfat Emet taught that Chen is like a divine light, a potent energy that flows into the world, and that Noah, because of his righteous deeds, acted like a conduit for this light.
I see.
Imagine him as a channel, allowing grace to pour through him and into the world.
So for Noah, being righteous wasn't just about checking boxes.
Right.
It was about becoming a beacon for Chen.
Yes, that's a great way to put it. And the Maharal of Prague actually adds another dimension to this.
Okay.
He emphasizes that Chen is entirely unearned, a pure gift.
Okay.
It's not something you can earn by doing good deeds,
Right.
but rather an expression of God's love freely given.
Hold on. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
So even though Noah was righteous,
Mm-hmm.
he didn't earn this grace. It was simply given to him. What does that even mean?
It's a profound idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Maharal is saying that Noah's righteousness didn't earn him grace, but it did make him open to receiving it. He became a conduit for something far beyond the usual ideas of reward and merit.
Yeah.
It's a much higher level of connection.
Okay. I'm starting to see how all of this fits together.
Good.
But what about the Arizal?
Yes.
What perspective did he bring to the table?
The Arizal was fascinated by the mystical meanings within the Hebrew letters themselves.
Okay.
He taught that the letters of Noach and Chen actually represent a balance between two divine attributes. Gasad,
Okay.
which is loving kindness,
Right.
and Javura,
Okay.
which is judgment or strength.
I see.
Through his actions, Noah brought these forces into perfect balance.
Wow.
He didn't embody just one or the other,
Right.
but rather a harmonious blend of both. And in doing so, he helped to save the world.
Like, what about the ark itself?
Yeah.
How does that fit into the concept of Chen?
I'm glad you asked, because it brings us to a whole other layer of meaning in this story.
Okay.
Remember how the word for ark in Hebrew is taiva?
Yeah, I remember.
Well, taiva also means word in Hebrew. So entering the ark can also be seen as entering the word.
Wait, are we talking about the word of God here?
Yes.
Like Torah and prayer?
You got it.
Okay.
The ark can be a metaphor for immersing yourself in Torah and prayer,
I see.
a way to find refuge from the flood of distractions and negativity in the world. It's all about finding your spiritual center, a place of inner peace where you can connect with God.
So Noah's journey in the ark symbolizes our own spiritual journeys.
Exactly.
Wow.
And this connects beautifully back to his name Noach,
Right.
which means rest.
Yeah.
By engaging with the word,
Yeah.
by finding that refuge in Torah and prayer,
Right.
we can experience that same spiritual rest and connection to divine grace, that Chen that Noah embodied.
Wow. I am seeing the Noah story in a whole new light. You know, now that you mention it, the ark itself takes on an even deeper meaning in that context.
Absolutely.
It's not just a vessel of physical salvation,
Right.
but a symbol of spiritual leadership and responsibility.
Precisely. The ark is often seen as a metaphor for Torah and Mitzvot,
Right.
the commandments and good deeds that create a spiritual haven for the righteous.
Right.
Just as Noah found refuge in the ark, we can find refuge in the ark of Torah, protecting ourselves from the negative forces that can overwhelm us in the world.
It's like creating a spiritual safe space for ourselves, a place to reconnect with what truly matters.
Yes, but how does this tie back to Chen,
Right.
that divine grace we were discussing?
Yeah.
Is there a link between seeking refuge in Torah and experiencing that flow of divine energy?
That's what I'm wondering.
Absolutely. In Chassidut, Chen isn't just something we passively receive.
Right.
It's something we actively cultivate through our actions.
I see.
The Lubavitcher Rebbe, a prominent Chassidic leader, actually taught that the name Noah has a double meaning.
Right.
It refers to rest on both a physical and a spiritual level.
Okay, now that you mentioned it, I can see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
Break it down for me. What's the connection between Noah and rest?
On a physical level, Noah represents the end of chaos.
Okay.
That peace and stability that Noah brought to the world after the flood.
I see.
But on a spiritual level,
Yeah.
it points to the inner peace and contentment that comes when we align ourselves with our higher purpose.
So finding true rest isn't just about external circumstances.
Right.
It's about achieving inner harmony. That makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. And Chassidut teaches that we achieve this alignment through our commitment to Torah and Mitzvot.
Mm-hmm.
By living a life of righteousness, we create that inner harmony and become open to the flow of Chen into our lives.
It's not just about finding comfort in Torah.
Right.
It's about letting it shape our lives and guide us toward that divine connection. I know his name Noach in Hebrew appears twice in Genesis 6.9. So it's like this tiny detail
Right.
that sparked centuries of discussion and debate.
Yeah, it's amazing how much depth can be packed into just one word, or in this case, a word repeated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So first things first, where we even find this double Noach? It's right there in Genesis chapter 6, verse 9.
Yep.
And right away, the Midrash, which is this collection of rabbinic commentaries on the Torah, jumps in with an interpretation. It suggests that the double Noach is highlighting his righteousness in two different dimensions.
Okay.
His relationship with God and his relationship with his fellow humans.
I see. So it's not just about being, good in one area of life, but about living with a sense of righteousness.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just about following rules or being super strict. It's about this deeper alignment
All right, aligning your actions with
with a higher purpose,
a higher purpose, exactly. And also, like you said, being a good person, in your everyday life.
Totally. Like being kind, being ethical, just treating others well.
It's about integrating that sense of righteousness into every aspect of your life.
I love that.
Yeah.
And then we've got this Chassidic interpretation that takes this duality to a whole other level.
So interesting. What's that one about?
Well, the Chassidic interpretation says that the two Noaches actually represent his influence in both the spiritual and the physical realms.
Wow, that's a powerful concept.
Right. It's like saying that Noah wasn't just righteous in his thoughts or his beliefs,
Yeah,
but that his actions actually reflected that righteousness and had a real impact on the world.
I see. So it's connecting inner spirituality with outer action.
Exactly. Like, just as Noah physically built the ark and saved life on earth, our own choices can also have this ripple effect, shaping both the material world around us and the intangible world of ideas and values.
That's a really profound thought. It makes you think about the consequences of your actions, both seen and unseen.
For sure. It's a lot of responsibility, but also super inspiring, right? Like we each have this potential to be ark builders in our own way, contributing to the well-being of everything around us.
Absolutely. And it's not just about grand gestures. It's about those everyday choices we make, those small acts of kindness and compassion.
Well, and get this, the name Noah actually means rest or comfort.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
So repeating the name, some say, emphasizes how Noah brought comfort not only to the world, but also to God himself.
That's beautiful.
Right. It's like after all the wickedness and destruction,
Mm.
Noah offered this sense of hope and renewal.
I see. So the repetition of his name underscores that dual comfort he brought.
Exactly. And, it makes me think about how we can all be sources of comfort for each other.
I know, absolutely.
Even in small ways.
Yeah, just a kind word, a listening ear.
Exactly. Those little things can make a huge difference, especially when someone's going through a tough time.
It's a reminder that we all have the power to bring a little more comfort and light into the world.
For sure. And, for those who want to dive even deeper, the Zohar, a major work of Jewish mysticism, offers a slightly more, shall we say, advanced level interpretation.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What's the Zohar's take on this?
Well, the Zohar sees the two mentions of Noach as representing two stages of his life, before and after the flood.
Like a before and after picture almost.
Yeah, and this interpretation really highlights the transformative power of challenging experiences. Yeah.
Right, like the Noah who entered the ark wasn't the same Noah who emerged on the other side.
Exactly. He was tested, purified, you could even say reborn through that whole ordeal.
It's a powerful message about how difficult experiences can actually shape us for the better.
Totally. Like, it's not that suffering is good or anything.
Like, of course not.
But that even in the midst of chaos and upheaval, there's this potential for growth and change.
I see. So it's not about seeking out suffering, but about recognizing the potential for growth within those challenges.
Right. And we all go through those times in life, right? Those moments that push us to our limits and force us to confront our fears.
Absolutely. And it's often in those moments that we discover strengths we didn't even know we had.
Totally. It's like what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, but on a deeper level.
Yeah, not just physical strength, but emotional and spiritual resilience, too.
And hey, speaking of transformation, let's touch on the Kabbalistic interpretation briefly.
Okay, the Kabbalistic view, always fascinating.
Right. Kabbalah being this mystical tradition within Judaism, it often uses symbolism and metaphors to explore these really deep spiritual concepts.
Yeah, it can be pretty mind-bending sometimes.
For sure. So in this case, the Kabbalistic interpretation suggests that the two noches represent the soul's journey to a higher level.
Interesting. So it's not so much about Noah the man in this interpretation, but about what he represents.
Exactly. Like this journey of spiritual growth and evolution that we all go through.
I see. It's using Noah's story as a metaphor for the soul's ascent.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be specifically religious either,
Yeah.
It's that universal human desire to grow, to understand.
To connect with something greater than ourselves.
To connect, exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking of connections, hold on to your hats, folks.
Ooh, why? What's coming next?
Because we're about to get into the fascinating world of gematria.
Gematria, all right? The mystical study of numbers and letters.
Yes. It's this ancient Jewish tradition that assigns numerical values to Hebrew letters and words.
Yeah, and it can reveal some pretty surprising connections.
For sure. So, get this. The numerical value of Noach is 58, which also happens to be the numerical value of the Hebrew word for grace.
Wow, that's a cool connection.
Right. So, repeating Noah's name could be seen as emphasizing the abundance of grace that he received.
Like he was chosen, protected, guided by a higher power.
Exactly. And it makes you think about all the times in our own lives when things have just, worked out in unexpected ways.
Right, like those moments of serendipity where you're in the right place at the right time.
Or you miss a flight and it turns out to be the one that crashes,
Yeah, or you bump into someone who ends up changing your life.
Totally. It makes you wonder if maybe there's more to it than just luck.
Like maybe there's a hidden hand guiding us, even when we don't realize it.
And, just when you thought we'd covered it all.
Wait, there's more.
There's one more interpretation that I find really intriguing.
Okay, lay it on me.
It suggests that the two noach represent two essential qualities.
All right, what are they?
Chesed, meaning loving kindness,
Mm-hmm.
and gevura, which means strength or judgment.
Oh, interesting. So it's about balancing those two qualities.
Exactly. It's like Noah needed both compassion and the ability to make tough decisions.
Right, because leading humanity through something like the flood would have required both.
Totally. Imagine the strength it took to withstand that deluge.
To witness all that destruction.
And then the courage to rebuild afterwards.
That's a heavy burden to bear.
For sure. And, it reminds us that even the greatest heroes
Even Noah.
are human, with all their complexities and contradictions.
They have to grapple with those tough choices, the balance between kindness and judgment.
Exactly. It's something we all face in our own lives,
Yep,
right?
absolutely, finding that balance within ourselves.
Knowing when to be gentle and when to be firm, when to offer support and when to set boundaries.
Yeah, it's a lifelong journey figuring out that balance. It's amazing, isn't it? How one tiny little detail, like Noah's name being written twice,
I know, right?
can lead to so many different interpretations and really such profound insights.
Totally. It's like these ancient teachings are still speaking to us today.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Like offering guidance for how to live our lives, how to navigate the world.
Yeah, they provide these timeless frameworks.
Exactly. Remember that first interpretation about dual
Oh,
righteousness?
yeah, with God and with our fellow humans.
Right. That idea is so relevant, even if we don't think about it in, like, religious terms.
Totally. In today's world, it could mean being true to your values, living with integrity.
Yeah, like walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Exactly. It's about that inner compass.
That guides us to do what's right.
Even when it's hard, even when no one's watching.
And remember that Chassiduk interpretation about spiritual and physical influence.
Oh, the one about how Noah's actions shaped both realms.
Yeah. That one really got me thinking about how we're all connected.
How our choices ripple outward.
And how we each have this potential to make a difference.
To be ark builders in our own way, as you said.
Exactly. Whether it's through our work, our relationships, or even just like random acts of kindness.
Those small acts can be so powerful.
And then there's that beautiful idea about Noah's name meaning comfort.
Oh, yeah. That one was really touching.
It makes me wonder how we can bring more comfort into the world today, you know?
Well, I think it starts with being present for each other. Being there for people.
Offering a listening ear, a shoulder to cry on.
Just showing up with kindness and compassion.
Exactly. And remember the Zohar's interpretation about the two Noah representing transformation through challenge.
Oh, yeah, that one was intense.
It really speaks to the resilience of the human spirit.
And how we can grow from even the most difficult experiences.
I think we all have those moments in our lives, those times that test us.
Those times that break us down.
But also ultimately make us stronger.
Yeah, like we come out on the other side, maybe a little battered.
But also more whole, more complete.
More ourselves somehow.
And the Kabbalistic interpretation about the soul's ascent.
Oh, that one was so mystical and beautiful.
It's a reminder that we're all on a journey.
A journey of growth and evolution.
Constantly learning, expanding, becoming.
And even if we don't always see it, we're moving towards something greater.
Toward a higher level of understanding, of connection.
And that gematria connection with Noah's name and the word for grace.
Oh, yeah, that one blew my mind. It makes you wonder how much grace is at work in our lives.
Even when we don't realize it.
Like those synchronicities, those moments of serendipity.
Those times when everything just seems to fall into place.
Maybe it's not just luck, but a sign that we're being guided, protected.
And finally, that last interpretation about cheesed and a javura.
Oh, the balance between kindness and judgment.
It's such an important reminder for all of us.
To find that sweet spot.
Between compassion and discernment.
Between being gentle and being firm.
It's a delicate dance.
But so essential for living a meaningful life. Wow, that was quite a journey, wasn't it?
It really was.
Like, who knew that one little detail about Noah's name
Being written twice, yeah.
could lead to so many, like, deep and meaningful interpretations?
It's amazing what you can uncover when you really start digging into these ancient texts.
Totally. And it makes you think, like, what other hidden gems are out there just waiting to be discovered?
Oh, I'm sure there are countless more.
Right. Not just in the Torah, but in our everyday lives, too.
Absolutely. It's all about perspective, about asking the right questions.
And being open to, like, the unexpected answers.
Exactly. Sometimes the most profound insights come from the most surprising places.
Most with you. What new questions did this spark for you?
And how can you apply these insights to your own life?
Because ultimately that's what it's all about, right? Taking these ancient teachings.
And making them relevant to our modern lives.
Using them as a guide for growth, for understanding, for living a more meaningful life.
Yeah, that's the real treasure, isn't it?
It really is.
How righteous was he really? I mean, the Torah just straight up calls Noah righteous, right? Perfect in his generations. Sounds like a pretty glowing review.
You'd think so. But that little phrase, in his generations, well, that's where things get kind of tricky.
Yeah, it's like acing a test where everyone else totally bombed it. Does that make you a genius? Or just, better than terrible.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the tension Rashi points out with his two interpretations of Noah's righteousness. So maybe Noah was exceptionally good
Right.
because everyone else was so wicked.
Okay, so a beacon of light in super dark times. Makes sense.
Right. But Rashi also says, well, maybe Noah was just, I don't know, decent compared to the truly awful people around him.
So righteous, sure, but not exactly like Abraham-level righteous.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, the Talmud actually points out this difference. Abraham prayed for Sodom, remember? Tried to save those people.
Yeah.
But Noah, he didn't seem to try to help anyone before the flood.
It's a pretty stark contrast. I mean, does a truly righteous person have to try and help others, even when it seems impossible?
That's a big question, right? And the Zohar, well, they don't hold back. They're much tougher on Noah than the Talmud.
Really? What do they say?
Well, they compare Noah to Moses, after that whole golden calf incident. Moses, he begs God to spare the Israelites. He puts himself on the line. And the Zohar says that Noah doesn't do anything like that.
So it's not just about being good yourself, but about, like, actively trying to make the world better.
That's how the Zohar sees it. Makes you wonder, what's the responsibility of someone who is considered righteous, right?
I've never thought about it like that.
Is it enough to just keep your own soul clean? Or do you have to try to, elevate those around you too?
Huh. Well, this is making me think of how the Hasidic tradition views Noah. They seem to focus on how hard it must have been to stay righteous when the whole world had gone off the rails.
Oh, yeah, they definitely emphasize that.
Yeah.
Imagine being the only person not losing their mind at a crazy party. You deserve a medal just for keeping it together.
Exactly. So maybe they don't see Noah as less righteous. Maybe it's more like his righteousness is focused inward, on keeping himself good, no matter what's happening around him.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's like two different types of strength, Holding on to your values when everything is pulling you down, that's Noah. And then there's that outward-focused strength, trying to change the world.
Like Abraham.
Yeah, like Abraham. And this reminds me of something Rabbi Schneur Zalman of Liadi said in the Tanya. He talks about Noah walking with God, but Abraham walking before God.
Interesting. What do you think that means?
Well, maybe walking with God means you need that support. You need God right there with you to stay on the right path.
But walking before God? That sounds more like, I don't know, independent. Like you're confident enough in your own sense of right and wrong to, lead the way.
Yeah. It's like Noah's clinging to God for guidance, right? But Abraham, he's striding ahead, trusting his own judgment. And that difference really shows up in how they respond to, everything, really. Noah focuses on survival, staying true to himself. Abraham, he's out there trying to change the world, wake people up, make them see what's right.
It's pretty mind-blowing how these different interpretations can completely change the way you see a story.
Totally. And we haven't even gotten to the Midrash yet. They bring up some really tough questions about what Noah didn't do. Building the ark, sure, that was obedient. But could he have done more?
What do you mean?
Well, did he even try to warn people about the flood? Did he try to get them to, repent, maybe change their ways?
I never thought about that before.
The Midrash really makes you think, if you were in Noah's shoes, facing a world about to be destroyed, what would you do?
I mean, it's easy to judge from, thousands of years in the future. But yeah, that's a really good question. Just focus on saving yourself and your family. Or would you try to do something more, even if it seemed impossible? I think we need to dig into this a bit deeper. Maybe by understanding what made Noah tick, we can figure out, I don't know, what it really means to be righteous. What do you think?
Yeah, it's like we keep coming back to this idea. Did Noah really do enough?
The Midrash doesn't let him off easy, that's for sure. They're asking those tough questions like, did he even try to warn people? I mean, the world's about to end, right?
It makes you think about what it really means to be righteous. Is it enough to just be good yourself? Or do you have to try to, I don't know, bring other people along with you?
Right. Is there a responsibility to try to help others become righteous too?
Yeah.
And that's where comparing Noah to Abraham gets really, really interesting.
Because Abraham actually argued with God, right? For real, he tried to save those people in Sodom. He even bargained with God.
Exactly. Abraham wasn't just worried about himself. He was deeply invested in what was happening to everyone else.
Which makes you wonder, is that part of it? That active, outward-focused thing? Is that what real righteousness looks like?
I think it's definitely a big part of the argument. The Zohar, remember, they praise Moses for standing up to God. After the golden calf, when he begs God to spare the Israelites.
He was willing to risk his own relationship with God to try and save his people.
Exactly. He knew it was the right thing to do, and he didn't back down, even though it was, kind of a risky move.
And that seems like what? Like the core of how the Zohar sees righteousness, having that courage to act.
Absolutely. It's not just about being good in your own little bubble. It's about having the guts to, step up and make a difference, even when it's hard, even when it's dangerous.
So maybe the question isn't just, was Noah righteous? It's more like, what kind of righteous? How does he stack up against someone like Abraham or Moses?
It's like there are levels to it, right? Different ways of being righteous. And I think Noah shows us something really important about inner strength, about staying true to yourself even when everything's falling apart around you.
Okay, I'm following you. But then you have Abraham and Moses, and they're out there like changing the world, trying to make it a better place.
Yeah, and that's the challenge for us, isn't it? To figure out what that balance looks like. How do we hold on to our own values while also making a positive impact on the world?
It's almost like there's a spectrum, right? From that personal inner focus to this, like big world-changing kind of righteousness.
I like that, a spectrum. And maybe true righteousness is somewhere in between. It's about finding that sweet spot between personal integrity and, a commitment to something bigger than ourselves.
That makes a lot of sense. This reminds me of something we talked about before. Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi in the Tanya, he makes that distinction between Noah walking with God and Abraham walking before God.
Oh, yeah, that's a great point. It's like with Noah, it's almost like he needs that extra support to stay on the right path.
He's holding on to God's hand for dear life.
Yeah, kind of. But Abraham, he's got that confidence. He's walking ahead, trusting his own moral compass. Like he knows where he's going.
So that really affects how they act. Noah's worried about surviving, making sure he and his family are safe. But Abraham, he's out there challenging God, arguing for what he believes in, trying to do what's right, even if it's hard.
And that's such a key difference. Noah, he's mostly concerned with his own spiritual survival, right? He obeys God's instructions, builds the ark, does what he's told. But Abraham, he's willing to push back, to question things, to fight for what he thinks is right, even if it means disagreeing with God.
So are we saying Abraham's approach is better than Noah's?
I don't think it's about better or worse. It's more about, different expressions of righteousness. Noah's is very inward focused. It's about piety, about obedience. But Abraham's righteousness, it goes beyond that. It's about social responsibility, about taking action to make things better for everyone.
So maybe Noah's is more passive and Abraham's is more active.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. But I think both of them are valuable. Noah reminds us that we need to hold on to our values, even when things are tough.
Yeah.
But Abraham shows us that we can't just sit back and wait for things to get better. We have to go out there and fight for what's right, to actually make a difference.
And it's amazing to think that both of these guys, they're both deeply connected to God. Whether you're walking with God or before God, that relationship seems to be at the heart of righteousness.
It all comes back to that, doesn't it? Aligning yourself with something bigger than yourself, whether that's through obedience to God's will or through fighting for justice and compassion in the world.
So as we keep going with this deep dive into Noah, I think it's important to remember this isn't about judging him. It's about using his story to understand, what righteousness means to us.
Exactly. We're not here to say whether Noah was good or bad. We're using his story as a way to reflect on our own values. What do we believe? How do we want to live our lives?
And these different interpretations, they give us so much to think about. They show us all the different ways we can try to be righteous.
And that's what's so cool about Jewish tradition. It's not afraid to ask the hard questions, to explore all sides of an issue.
It makes you realize that righteousness isn't this simple, easy thing. It's complex, it's multi-layered, and it's always evolving.
And that's what keeps this deep dive so interesting. We're not searching for one right answer. We're just trying to understand, to explore, and to keep growing.
And maybe that's the point of the whole thing, the journey itself, figuring out what it means to live a life of meaning and purpose. And maybe, just maybe, leaving the world a little bit better than we found it.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's about the journey, not the destination.
It's incredible how these stories from, thousands of years ago can still feel so relevant. It makes you wonder what Noah would think about the world today.
Right. Would he even recognize it? But I think the bigger question is, what can we learn from him?
Yeah, what does Noah's story teach us about, being righteous in our modern world?
It's like these ancient texts, they give us this framework for thinking about ethics and morality. a way to, like, wrestle with the big questions.
And the cool thing is they don't give us easy answers.
Yeah.
Like with Noah, there are so many different interpretations.
Exactly. The Jewish tradition, it's not afraid to say, hey, this is complicated. There's more than one way to look at this.
And that's what I love about this whole deep dive thing. It's about like opening up those different perspectives, seeing things from all these different angles.
It's not about, judging Noah. It's about understanding. And maybe, even more importantly, understanding ourselves.
So, like, what are we taking away from all this? What does it all mean for us?
Well, I think one of the big takeaways is that righteousness, it's not this, like, fixed thing. It's not a destination.
It's a journey.
Yeah. It's about constantly striving, growing, reflecting. And it can look so many different ways.
It's like you can be righteous by focusing on your own personal integrity, on being a good person, deep down.
Right. But you can also be righteous by working to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
By fighting for justice, for equality, for compassion.
And maybe it's about finding that balance between the inner work and the outer work.
Exactly. It's not either, it's both hand. And I think Noah's story, it really highlights that tension between focusing on your own survival, your own righteousness, and trying to, like, lift up everyone around you.
So as we come to the end of our deep dive, I hope you're all swimming in food for thought.
Yeah, I hope you're leaving with more questions than answers.
Was Noah righteous? Yes. But the how and the extent, those are the things that are still up for debate.
And maybe that's the beauty of it all. We get to keep wrestling with these questions, keep exploring these ideas.
And I think the most important question, the one that we should all be asking ourselves is, what does righteousness mean to me?
Right. What does it look like in my life?
Yeah.
In my actions? How can I make a difference?
So,
And hey, if you're looking for more, check out Beit Yisrael International. They have amazing resources to keep you diving deeper.
there's a whole world waiting to be discovered.
Exactly. So until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those arcs nice and sturdy. You never know when you might need them.
See you next time.
Bye, everyone.